Hey there, CPO here. Let's talk vehicle accessory wiring. When you buy a light bar or some other accessory for your vehicle, you end up with a wiring harness like this. It's usually got a relay, probably a fuse, and a switch. You get a few accessories, you end up with a few harnesses, all to be independently run around your vehicle. And quite frankly, it's kind of a pain in the butt. So I wanted a solution to add multiple accessories with a clean install platform, and I also wanted some nice switches inside the cab of the vehicle. I'm doing this on my 2015 JKU. What I chose to use was this wireless fuse relay box. These are handmade in Maryland and shipped all over the world for people just for this purpose, and it actually works fantastic. So here's what you're getting with the waterproof fuse relay box. It's basically got this Bussmann fuse/relay box with a cover. It's completely waterproof. And as you can see on the bottom, he's gone through a lot of great effort to make sure that all those connections are waterproofed. It's got the mounting bracket. It's got 5 relays. It's got 5 30-amp fuses. There's 5 15-amp fuses. It comes with some butt connectors and some shrink tube, and also this 32 inches of expandable heat and chemical resistant loom. The positive wire is 8 gauge, the negative wire is 12 gauge. All of the accessory wires are 12 gauge, the switch wires are 16 gauge, and then the fused non-relay wires are also 16 gauge. He can do anything custom that you'd like, including if you want more links. Like, all of the wiring comes standard with 36 inches of length, but if you need more than that, you can reach out to him, and it'll cost you some more, but you can add additional wiring. I actually did that for my install, so I didn't have to splice wires to get to the switch panel or, for example, the winch. But the great thing about this is it keeps basically one connection to your battery fused, so every time you add accessories, you don't have to keep adding additional individual components to your battery. All of it comes off of this one box. So like I mentioned, I am doing this in my 2015 JK, and finding real estate in the engine compartment is always a challenge. What I chose to do is I just used a couple of pieces of aluminum stock. One of them's kind of shaped like an L, and then another flat piece on top. And I basically bolted the L into an existing bracket using the existing bolt that was already there. And then using that top piece, I used self-tapping screws to attach the relay box using its bracket that it came with straight to the top of that. And I think it worked out really well. So one very thoughtful thing about this box is the wires are color-coded, which makes it really simple for install. Like I mentioned before, you have a switch wire and an associated accessory wire, and I'll show you a diagram here of my install, which will probably make things more clear, but they're color coded the same. So if you have a red switch wire, it's going to control the accessory that's attached to the red accessory wire. So it's very simple in that, and like I said, you've got 5 of those. You can see here where I ran the wires from the engine compartment through the firewall into the cabin of the JK. Now for my installation, I wanted to use the dimmer switch to control the lighting on the switches. So I found the dimmer switch and tapped into that in the kick panel on the passenger side. And now whenever I have my headlights on, then my switches will come on with them and can be dimmed along with the rest of my interior lighting. Once you have all of your accessories installed, make sure you go in and remove fuses you're not using at the time, and then make sure that your fuse values are consistent with what you need for your accessories. Let me show you a little bit about my wiring setup here. I have 5 switches in my switch panel. 3 of them are to control LED lights. 2 of them are dedicated for the winch. In addition to that, I have a CB that is on 12-volt constant power, and that is also run off of this fuse relay box. So I don't have all of the lights yet for my JK. I actually only have the bumper LED, which is on this circuit shown from the red accessory and switch wire. But I've went ahead and wired for the roof LED and then also 2 rear LEDs because I know they're coming. I just haven't bought them yet. So I've got the positive and negative running to the battery. Now it's not demonstrated here in the diagram, but there is a fuse next to the battery. You've seen it in the video already. It comes with the waterproof fuse relay box. So supplied with the box is a basic wiring diagram to give you an idea of how to get started. And a lot of people wire their switches to a ignition 12-volt source. And that would be what would, if you look at the kind of purple line down at the bottom, it says switch power to trigger relay. Normally, a lot of people would wire that to the ignition so that the switches are only active when the ignition's on. I wanted to have my switches active at all times. In other words, all of my accessories would be active at all times because I wanted to be able to turn on the LED lights without having to put in the key and turn it on. So that was a personal choice I made. So what I did is I used one of the 12-volt constant wires coming out of the waterproof fuse relay box to actually power the switches as well. So I'm sort of using the fuse relay box to power the switch bank that then activates the switch box to activate accessories. So a little bit interesting there how I did that, but it works out really well. So again, to the battery, and then let's talk about 12-volt constants here. I have one 12-volt constant going into the cab of the vehicle, which then powers my switches. Then I have a second 12-volt constant run through the engine compartment to my CB, and that allows my CB to always have fused power even when the vehicle's off, which is how I want it. Now for the switches, the wires coming out of the side, I have 3 going to my switch box for each of the lights, the bumper lights, the roof light, and the rear lights. And then there are associated wires run for those accessories, color-coded to be the same. Now the winch setup, what I've done here is the winch is connected directly to the battery, always on 12-volt power. But I didn't want my switch to be active all the time for winch controls inside the cab. So basically what I have is a switch that activates the winch in-out controls, and then the controls will work from within the cab. But the controls don't work unless that switch is activated. How I've done that is basically taken power, just like all the other switches, to activate the winch, and then once that switch is enabled, it then feeds power into the in-out switch, which goes directly to the solenoid on the winch. Sorry, I'm probably confusing or boring half of you. This isn't a how to wire your vehicle video, but more just showing you the power of how using the foundation of something like this waterproof fuse relay box, you can pretty much do whatever you want, you know, within some constraints. But that's how I have mine wired up now, and I'm really liking it, and I think it's a fantastic setup for me. And also, you might notice one thing you don't see on this wiring diagram are my switch LED circuits. That's way too complicated and really is secondary to the waterproof fuse relay box. It's a separate circuit. So that's not included in here because it gets really messy at that point. And it all depends on what type of switches you end up with as well. So that's it. That's how I've chose to install and run my accessory wiring. I think it's a great concept. There are other more expensive options to achieve this same end goal, but at this price point, this is really hard to beat. So where do you find it? You can go to Facebook and search for waterproof fuse relay box, or you can go to this link here I have on the screen, and that will get you to where you can get more information about this particular item. I do know he sells them all over the world and has had 0 returns. He sold hundreds of them. He's so meticulous. Every single one is tested before it goes out the door. He's never had a problem. And that says a lot. So anyway, thanks for watching. I hope this gives you some ideas about your own vehicle wiring, and it's just not a Jeep thing. You can do this in anything. This is universal application. So have at it and go light some stuff up. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.